Jeff Zwarenk here, and welcome to Give and Take. In this segment of our show, we explore important scientific ideas and help you be more convinced of the truth of Christianity. I'm joined again by Dr. John Lennox, Professor Emeritus of Mathematics at Oxford University, and we're going to be just talking about the topic of artificial intelligence. Dr. Lennox, it's good to have you here today.
Thank you very much.
So I know this is something you've thought about because you've written a book about artificial intelligence. And I guess I just want to ask you to start the conversation off. How close do you think we are to developing artificial intelligence?
Well, there are two kinds of artificial intelligence. And the first one we have already developed. And it's being used all around the world, particularly in terms of pattern recognition. We're using it, for example, in order to develop a vaccine for COVID-19. It's being used, sadly, to oppress people through facial recognition technology. So there's loads of stuff that's actually being used, and we call that narrow artificial intelligence. That is a system which does one thing that normally requires human intelligence. The system is not intelligent, but it simulates intelligence. The second sort is artificial general intelligence. And that's the kind that you're referring to when you say, are we near to that? The development of a super intelligent being, either by enhancing already existing human intelligence by various methods of cyborg engineering or biogenetic engineering, or constructing a superintelligence from scratch that is independent of biology and is rooted in something like silicon. That's the science fiction type stuff. And in my view, listening carefully to the pundits, we're much further away from it than a lot of people like to think.
Yeah, well, I like that distinction you made, because there is a lot of talk about, oh, we've got artificial intelligence doing this and that, to recognize that there are two very different things. There are machines or programs or whatever you want to call them that are very capable of doing specific things. I mean, the computer programs that can outplay humans routinely at chess. So there are these, I think the term you use is artificial narrow intelligence, but when I think of artificial intelligence, I'm thinking that general intelligence, the things that we see, like the Terminator in the movies, or all the different sci-fi things out there. So you think that's quite a long ways away. Different question about that. When we develop it, let's say we do develop it, is this going to be a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, nobody knows, and that is the huge concern. The leading people like the late Stephen Hawking or Elon Musk and all this kind of folks, they're so concerned about it that they're trying to set up ethical beliefs and norms that must be applied in thinking about this. But that's extremely difficult, because the technology inevitably outpaces the ethics. And so we just don't know. And if you read somebody like Max Tegmark, who's a physicist at Princeton, he, in his book, gives you a whole lot of scenarios that the superintelligence could be benevolent, or it might, on the other end of the scale, be a despot and treat human beings as pets or eliminate them altogether. And how do you police that kind of thing? And of course, science fiction writers love that kind of stuff. But what intrigues me is that there are people of high intelligence, like our astronomer royal, Lord Martin Rees, who really thinks we're going to go so far that in years to come, that intelligence will have been so changed that there'll be no recognition of what the beings that then exist will have been. And of course, the big issue it all raises is, what are we doing to the concept of a human being? That's something Lewis thought about in the 1940s in two of his books, The Abolition of Man and That Hideous Strength. And again, presciently, he saw that one of the major problems was, if we start to alter the definition or the specification of a human being, like, for example, altering the germline, what we're creating is not humans, but artifacts. and they will be specified not by everybody or democratically, but by a small group of scientists. And so ultimately, it will be, as he put it, the abolition of man. And I think we need to think about that because there's so much of this stuff in the atmosphere. So that's why I interact very strongly with the book Homo Deus by Yuval Noah Harari, the Israeli historian, who is a transhumanist and is advocating this artificial enhancement of human beings to turn them into gods, as he puts it, Greek-style gods.
Yeah, well, so your description there, I mean, you're talking about what do we do with ethics? What does it mean to be intelligent? What are humans? Those are all concepts that are foundational to a Judeo-Christian worldview. It seems like Christianity intersects very strongly with our desire to want to develop artificial intelligence. How as Christians do we think about this in a way that we're helping advance the good of humanity while we're looking at this technology?
I was intrigued recently watching Jordan Peterson. He has certain lectures on Genesis, and he was talking on Genesis 1 and came across the statement, and God made human beings in his own image. And he said, man, that's the cornerstone of civilization. We neglect it at our peril. And I think that's exactly it, that here's a specification of the significance of a human being, and it's related to God. And in that very same part of the Bible, we have the first attack on humanity, where the temptation was, God's trying to keep you humans down. He doesn't want you to rise to your potential. He knows in the day you eat that forbidden fruit, you shall be as gods. And here's the Homo Deus. And the lie that's been spread around for all the millennia subsequent to that is that God is out to spoil your enjoyment. And he doesn't want you to have knowledge and all the rest of it. And so I think it's very important to analyze those particular passages in Genesis that are utterly foundational and see that they say nothing of the kind. God wants knowledge. The original garden was full of it. And the tree that was forbidden is not the tree of knowledge, it's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And as we see from there, it's not knowledge that you want at all. And I think Peterson is onto something there, that we need to realize that this mandate, so to speak, is really the foundation of all our legal system, our human rights, and all the rest of they come as a gift from the Judeo-Christian worldview. And therefore, we need to apply them in the context of thinking about the various artificial intelligence scenarios.
You know, what I find interesting in your description there is, even going back to the serpent in the garden, is there are all of these misunderstandings of who God is and what he wants for humanity that we tend to, Adam and Eve rejected what the serpent was bringing, and we're tending to reject what we think Christianity has to say, but we really almost don't even understand what God is and what he's wanting to do. How as Christians do we help people see that better?
Well, the way I do it, frankly, is to be pretty blunt with people. And I say, look, you and I are trying to understand the Christian faith, what it says. Well, please listen to what it has to say before you judge it. There's a great deal of what one might call biblical illiteracy in our society. And if people don't hear the big picture, they will misunderstand it. And I feel we've got a very important calling to make these things clear, especially these fundamental things that have to do with the definition of what is a human being, have to do with creation and all the major biblical doctrines. Please listen to an explanation before you cast it all away.
I think that's a powerful reminder, John. I appreciate that. Christianity does have a lot to say about how this world operates. And quite honestly, a lot of people are just rejecting it, not because of what Christianity says, but because of their perception of it. And so I think it's important that we are equipped to be able to help people understand Christianity. One of the resources that will help you do that, specifically in the area of artificial intelligence, is John Lennox's book about artificial intelligence. It's 2084, Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Humanity. Would encourage you to go out to 2084book.com, pick up the book, read it, be equipped to be able to talk about this fascinating topic and how it really does point to the truth of Christianity.